The music, the style, the glamour, just the delight of Hollywood. Huge movie stars, huge budgets, and huge successes. Billions of dollars brought into the US economy, from the silent movies of the early 20th century to the more modern blockbusters that have dominated in recent years. It was in 1911 that the first movie company set up shop in Hollywood, leading into its golden age in the 30s and 40s, with the world's first real superstars like Clark Gable, Ingrid Bergman, and Humphrey Bogart. It was after the Second World War that the first real challenge for Hollywood rose over the hills: television, sucking audiences away to the small screen. Soon, the blockbusters reigned supreme with films like Star Wars. Technology improved as well, leading to other films such as the Marvel movies and Avatar. But then came the perfect storm. First, coronavirus, wiping out production. Then 148 days of the actors and writers' strike. And on top of that came streaming, a painful shift as audiences watch even more from the comfort of their own sofas. Producers as well shifting production to less expensive locations like New Mexico and Georgia, cutting Hollywood production by 40%. And finally, last January, the worst natural disaster that Los Angeles has ever experienced. Hollywood Hills in flames were like an out-of-film picture of a declining industry. Today, experts are warning that Los Angeles could become the new Detroit, a city that believed the automobile industry would always be there. Well, Valérie, Defert, Pierrick, Leurent with Wassim Cornet revisit Los Angeles for France 24.
These 9 letters have come to symbolize a city and an entire industry that has dominated the entertainment world for over a century. But today, in these hills, the shots that ring out aren't those from a Western movie. Believe it or not, Dutch Merrick is a prop master in Hollywood.
I want the web of your hand up in the hilt of the gun. There you go. Finger on the trigger when you're ready.
But for the past few months, this has become his main activity, teaching firearm shooting, just like he did over 30 years ago before working for the film industry.
You have a very nice grouping, and you're a first star.
Oh, shit.
Hey, it's like in Hollywood. We're gonna work on the next stage. Every weekend, we bring people out here and teach them basic gun safety. And with no film business to rely on, this has now become my primary income, oddly enough. I never thought I would say that. I always thought that the film business would be my entire life, my entire career. But here I am, back to the good old days of teaching people how to shoot. And I love doing it. I really, really love doing it. But it's not film work. It's not the career that I chose.
The entire sector has been affected. His student, Marissa, is an actress. She hasn't had a role in months.
I've been just been like working survival jobs. So it's been disappointing, and it's, I still am really hopeful that it's gonna come back, but there's no kind of indication that's true. Everyone is either leaving or finding something else that they can do to supplement.
Is Hollywood on the verge of becoming deserted? The industry is going through a crisis not seen since the 1960s in the rise of television. But this crisis has actually been a series of crises. The pandemic paralyzed filming for 18 months. Then, the recovery was stopped in its tracks by the historic writers and actors strikes in 2023. Filming was shut down for 148 days to secure better wages. Since then, the production of films and series has plummeted. This company has been hit hard by the drop in activity.
We started with 2 of these trucks in 2006, and then now we're up to 90 or something now.
Over the course of 2 decades, Wes Bailey built a thriving business by renting filming equipment to all of Hollywood. But in the past 2 years, he's had to let go of a quarter of his employees. Wes himself hasn't earned anything in a year and a half.
Los Angeles is down about 40% over the last 2 years. I think we're down 38%. We were down 20% in 2023, and it fell another 18% in 2024. So we had to downsize. People had to do 2 jobs, 3 jobs, just so that we wouldn't close our doors.
Before the crisis, Wes even built this 3,000 square meter studio. Inside, he meticulously recreated recurring locations in films and shows.
It really serves a project to get a lot of different shots, and you can go from hospital to jail to police, bullpen. It's kind of meant to be everything to the interrogation room, lineup. We even have a morgue.
Each set can be rented out for €3,500 per day, but Wes is having a hard time finding clients.
The plan was to work with a lot of the true crime shows. You know, if you got Grey's Anatomy or big TV shows, you would have a much more guaranteed long-term project. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get as many of those as we had hoped, especially once COVID hit. It was pretty much done.
The pandemic and its restrictions, followed by new contracts that stemmed from the strikes, have made filming much more expensive. To compensate, Wes now hosts projects like this one.
We good? Action.
A vertical miniseries produced by a Chinese company for social media. For Wes, Hollywood bears significant responsibility for the current situation.
I think there's some self-inflicted reasons. I think we trained our competition in other states because when we didn't go back to work as quickly after COVID as some of the states did, the producers made the decision to shoot where they could, and they learned to like other places as well.
And those other places aren't even that far. A short 2-hour flight from Los Angeles is the state of New Mexico. Its capital, Albuquerque, is home to 800,000 people and attracts new projects each year. It all began in 2006 with the success of Breaking Bad and its spin-off, Better Call Saul.
So this house on the right was in Better Call Saul, is his brother Chuck. That's Chuck's house there. I think we set it on fire in the end. There was a scene, spoiler alert.
Cindy McCrossan was a location scout. In total, she worked on 50 episodes.
Being a filming location for a show like Breaking Bad made a huge difference. It was steady, consistent work. It was, an incredibly popular, award-winning show that brought a lot of attention to Albuquerque.
Today, Cindy manages filming permits for the city. Over the years, she has seen major productions come to Albuquerque, drawn to a wide variety of settings, like this abandoned warehouse.
There's been so many films shot in this building. Some big movies, Avengers and Terminator, Salvation, and a lot of the television series. You know, most every script you get, there's a warehouse where a drug deal happens or the bad guys are hiding. And so just to have this available to film is a great asset. Albuquerque can offer other backdrops to films besides just a desert landscape. You know, we're so much more than just that.
But there are also major financial incentives to shoot in New Mexico. Unlike in Hollywood, the permits issued by Cindy are free, and productions that employ local crew members get a 30% tax credit.
It really encouraged the state to build their workforce, to build the infrastructure as far as stages, vendors, and it's just been steady growth since then.
The ongoing renovations on a building nearby prove that the state is betting on the long term.
The school will be training film workers for the future, and that works with our state incentives so that local talent, local crew will be employed by the industry.
Each year, filming in New Mexico brings over $800 million to the state's economy. One of the symbols of this resounding success are these brand new studios, 400,000 square meters that were acquired by Netflix in 2018. In exchange for local aid, the streaming giant promised to invest $2 billion over 10 years and already employs 4,000 people. With its massive and cost-effective offer, Netflix has sparked fierce competition among studios, pushing many to try to cut costs.
Hello, Valerie, and welcome to ABQ Castle Studios.
Tim Pfeiffer already owns a film set in Los Angeles. 2 years ago, when demand declined, he chose to open a second one here. In addition to comfortable dressing rooms for demanding celebrities, Tim's major selling point is a technological revolution located behind these doors.
So, Tim, can you tell us where we are right now?
We are in a space station, and This space station is gigantic. It's one of the biggest ones in show business. But the great thing is it does not exist. There's nothing here. We're in a big green room, so we've just saved $1 million. If you were to build this out in the real world, it would probably, I don't know, take a month and a crew of 20, where here we have one guy and it takes him a week.
This technology makes it possible to use a virtual set in real time, and the possibilities are endless.
All right, now we're in a basketball gym.
A basketball court, a futuristic diner, or an airport terminal. Anything is possible.
And you can also mix in, do a few tricks, as you're about to see here. So I'm actually sitting on this airport chair that doesn't exist.
Don't you think a production that was thinking of filming outside LA would come here instead because they're going to save money?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, people are going to go to the best, most cost-efficient place. And if that's us, well, we hope it is.
Cutting-edge technology paired with tax breaks, the ideal recipe to speed up the exodus of film and TV productions, especially as Los Angeles' image continues to take a hit. Last January, the city faced the worst wildfires in its history. Pacific Palisades, home to many celebrities, saw major destruction. So did Altadena, a middle-class neighborhood where many Hollywood workers live. Dutch Merrick, the prop master and firearms instructor, lost everything here.
Part of me feels like, okay, I'm coming home. And then as I get closer and closer, I see all this destruction. And I realize there's no home to come back to. Not for any of us. This whole area is wiped out.
A total of 12,000 structures were destroyed in the fires, including his home.
This was our garage. As you can see, it's still got a bit of a garage door. A little bit of structure still standing. This was my motorcycle.
Dutch also lost all of his gear, including the fake revolvers he uses on set. On the night of the fire, he stayed for hours trying to save the home he bought with his wife.
This is one of the hoses I used. It's all melted.
But there was no stopping the flames.
So I was in love with this house. I was proud of the fact that it was the first house I actually bought. I've been a renter all my life. It sucks. Totally sucks.
For Dutch and many Hollywood workers, the fires hit at the worst possible time.
Over the last 2 years, I've come to the dawning that Hollywood may not be here in the form that it was. And I have so many friends that in order to try to salvage their career, they moved to Albuquerque, they moved to Atlanta, they moved to England, Mexico. I have friends that have moved all over the world chasing the film circus. And just as many friends that said, that's it, I'm out, I'm done.
To get by, Dutch regularly goes to a branch of IATSE, the Hollywood Workers Union. He comes here to pick up groceries and basic necessities.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you? Dutch.
Sam.
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
the mutual aid pantry organizer. So it's not.
Volunteers like Sam see about 40 families come through each week, stocking up on fruit, vegetables, and canned goods, all donated by local supermarkets.
In 2023, in response to the strikes, our members were really hurting financially. First, it started with a measly little shelf, but we've since expanded to have nonprofit partners who bring us a ton of fresh food. So it's turned into a huge resource for our membership.
Appreciate all your efforts.
It's essential help, but Dutch knows it won't be enough in the long run.
One of my fears is that there's this sort of life cycle of disaster where when it's at a peak, everyone's aware of the problem and they want to help, and then it starts to die down, but we're still going to need assistance.
Hollywood's unions appear to be powerless in the face of the industry's decline. 2 years after they negotiated new benefits with the studios, they now acknowledge a deeper structural issue.
We tried to balance the fact that our workers deserve more, deserve a safe, healthy health and pension plan, but they also need to not price ourselves out of the market. And I felt like we came to a compromise with the companies, and everybody was relatively happy about that, but we are still more expensive than a lot of the other market.
To try to save Hollywood, a group joined forces a few months ago.
Okay, guys, it's time to open the gates.
Leading the coalition is Wes, the head of the equipment rental company.
All right, everybody, welcome. We're going to go ahead and start moving in. Let's come on in.
Today, he's holding a major rally at his studio. Dozens of directors, actors, and crew members have shown up. Their goal is to push authorities to help make LA competitive again, and some elected officials have answered the call.
Around the city.
I'm trying to change the dynamics in Washington, so we're focusing on the money and bringing it back here.
In Washington, Donald Trump is reportedly planning to tax films shot abroad. Meanwhile, California is considering doubling its tax credits for local productions. For Wes, only strong, collective action can save the industry.
When we started out, politicians actually didn't want to sign up for this event. But as the numbers grew, as they saw that it became a bigger and bigger deal, suddenly we had to actually turn away a number of council members, a number of politicians. There's so much desperation that people are really excited to see a change.
Now it's up to Hollywood to write its next chapter, a story no one wants to see end like this.